Thank you.
Anna, are you ready? Well, thank you for all coming out so I can share a few thoughts with you. I got the email forwarded to me, just like many of you did, about 35, 40 minutes before this press conference was going to be held, that the governor was coming here to Buffalo to talk about some priorities and to give a briefing. So I thought I would come here as well and try to ask some questions about the book deal. Yesterday, I called on the governor to release the entirety of the contract for his arrangements for his memoir about COVID-19, because I think so many New Yorkers, no matter where I travel in the state, find this entirely offensive, that the governor has made $5.1 million from the publishing of this book that he wrote at the halftime of the worst pandemic we've seen in modern times. He did this to declare himself the hero of COVID-19, but meanwhile, what we learn is that his administration was covering up the deaths of New York nursing home patients after his executive order of March 25th ordered those COVID-positive nursing home patients forcibly into those nursing homes. He did not have policies that saved lives. He had policies that led to the loss of people's lives. And what we have here is, the governor is hiding in plain sight from the press. He does these impromptu press conferences so that the Albany press corps that covers him on a daily basis cannot travel. They're forced to, electronically follow this through streaming, and they're not able to ask questions. Luckily for the people of Buffalo, you all were here to ask some tough questions today, because this governor hid for so long and is afraid of the facts. And you hear him and how sensitive the governor got when these questions of his book deal came forward. He has not released the contract. All we know is that his tax return says that he made $5.1 million off of this deal, which really, when you do the math, is a really bad contract for the publisher, because it didn't sell many copies. They paid him $111 a book to write this book. And now there's another wrinkle to the many, many investigations that this governor is under right now that shows that he used state employees to write the book. Whether it was to aid him, to sit with him, to collect his thoughts, to print things off. He used your tax dollars to publish his book on government time. Now, I don't know about you, but there's 50 governors in America, and only one decided it was in good taste to write a book and enrich himself by $5 million to do so. This is a gross abuse of public trust. It doesn't pass any smell test. It didn't when he signed the contract. It was, at first we all thought it was delusions of grandeur and maybe some clandestine way to start a campaign for the presidency. But instead what we find is it's just a sick cash grab, a disgusting cash grab. And it's done on the coffins of 15,000 New York seniors. And the fact that the governor had the attitude that he had today in this press conference when asked very basic questions about this book deal, and the fact that he lashes out at anyone around him when they ask these difficult questions of him that are inconvenient to answer for him. But governor, you took the money. You put it in your pocket. You gave it to your daughter. I don't care what the hell you did with it. But you profited off of the pandemic. You had press conference after press conferences bashing vendors that were trying to make money off of PPE or the various things that would help people during the times of need and COVID. Now, meanwhile, you do the same thing and get a contract that puts $5 million in your pocket while you're talking about the job that you did while you're supposed to be upholding the taxpayers' trust. This is just another in the litany, in the dozen plus dark clouds that hang over this administration's head. I've called for this governor's impeachment since the obstruction of justice that I believe he, Melissa DeRosa, and the other officials in this Cuomo administration conducted over covering up the deaths in the nursing homes. He, of course, does not have the integrity to resign, even though every leading Democrat in New York State has essentially called for him, and of course all the Republicans have as well. And I think that these Democrats that run the state legislature, they're covering for him. They're trying to down the ball. There's only about 10 days left in the legislative session. They would have the votes to remove this governor from office today if they had the courage to call the vote. Instead, they hide behind long-winded investigations that are costing taxpayers millions and millions of dollars. So I thought it was appropriate, instead of just coming here for a Governor Cuomo infomercial, that we have a little truth-telling, that we talk about the issues that are in front of us, because this is abhorrent. It's a national story, and this governor should be ashamed of himself and should give every dime of the money he made off of this book to charitable causes, or give it to the families of those that lost families in the nursing homes, because it was at his call. So I'll take any questions anyone has.
The governor's explanation is that he wrote the book, what he's learned and how we can use it moving forward. Why does that not pass the smell test?
What are we going to learn from a self-aggrandizing memoir that says him and his staff are brilliant? You've learned through transcripts, through testimony, through investigations so far that these people were a bunch of bullies and thugs. They cut the legislature out of the entire process. They've made a mockery of New York State government, tearing down the very fabric of democracy by these executive orders. The legislature very foolishly gave him unbridled power, and he used it to a degree that no one expected. And only when the CDC finally says take the mask off if you're vaccinated, he's still doing this, because he thinks he's smarter than everyone else, and he thinks he is the government. He is a temporary steward of the public's trust, and he's broken that trust. That book isn't worth the paper it's printed.
Nick, he says everything you need to know about the book is in his tax releases, and that he discloses more than anybody else. What's in that contract you want to see?
I want to see the verbiage. I mean, he's a public official that signed into a contract. He doesn't get the luxuries of full privacy here. He entered into a private arrangement to get paid the outside income of $5 million. I think it's a pretty significant, development, and it would, if he's willing to release his tax returns, why doesn't he want to release the text of this contract? Is there something in there that wouldn't show up as a line item? We've heard, when he wrote his first book, there was allegations that, his campaign supporters were forced to buy cases of the things because it wouldn't move in the bookstores. I just think it would be very relevant to the discussion. If he's as transparent as he claims he is, release the contract. What could be so complicated in there? It's the avoidance of releasing the contract that is lunacy. And I already asked for my tax returns. Anyone wants to see them, just let me know. I'll be happy to share. I got nothing to hide in this world. But he even lies about the fact that he releases them like they're on the website or something. He lets reporters in for a few hours once a year to look at them if they want. They can't take anything back with them. The governor, how do you know the governor's lying? His lips are lying.
The governor announced a vaccine scratch program today, saying that people will win up to $5 million. Do you know, A, how much this is going to cost, and also what's your reaction to this program?
Well, I'm a firm believer in vaccine. I don't want to cut down any effort to get people vaccinated, but I think that it's a little, it underestimates people when you think a scratch-off ticket's enough to go. I mean, because this is not like only the people vaccinated get a shot at $5 million. He's going to give you a scratch-off that you can go over to Quickfill and get for $20. So those things don't tend to work out so well for people, so I don't think anyone should really get their hopes up with a $5 million jackpot. So, no, again, it's a publicity stunt. I have no idea what it'll cost. I hope everyone, if it's in their beliefs, gets vaccinated. So, we can get as close to reality in our old normal as possible. But, a scratch-off gimmick, one, he's just copying the governor of Ohio that created $1 million lottery. I find it a little irresponsible that we're handing out lottery tickets to people. But at the same time, he got showered, if you believe Chuck Schumer, he got showered with $100 million in federal money between all the different entities within our government, MTA, City of New York State, school districts, you name it, there's $100 million rained down. We had a deficit before this, and now we're handing out basically cash. I mean, people would probably be better off if they gave you a $20 Visa card than just some stupid lottery ticket. It's not going to be worth anything in about 30 seconds. Any other questions?
I do have a question about child care. Yesterday, the governor announced new guidelines that had come out. Got a lot of response from child care providers who are very frustrated, say that there's no way they'll be able to implement these guidelines on day one, especially with getting kids 2, 3, 4 years old masked. What's your response?
Well, I haven't studied his proposal, clearly, but like many of the governor's decisions and regulations, they're arbitrary and capricious. And he says follow the science, yet he wanted to argue with the CDC last week. These are the things, he doesn't understand how things affect people in real time, in real life. It's like when you said to bar and restaurant owners, well, you can't serve beer unless you give someone cheese and crackers. How did that stop COVID? We have to listen to science and not just something that makes the governor and his team, sound good because it occupied their time for 3 months. So I think I'd rather hear what the experts have to say than that. But, families are struggling with child care. It's part of getting, a certain segment of the population back into the workforce because their kids have to have a place to go. The government should be doing everything it can to streamline child care. All this federal money we have, that'd be a great place to spend it. Trying to get child care up and running, incentivize child care centers to open back up, people to go into that profession. Obviously, putting more hurdles in front of them makes it a lot harder for people to get back to work.
Slightly off topic. The former president has proven to be a pretty good fundraiser still for your party. Is it a good idea still for the Republican Party to be the party of Trump?
He is our former president, and the president's going to have a voice, just like George W. Bush had a voice last week, just like Barack Obama has an awful lot to say about things that go on in the Democratic Party. I mean, I know there's people that want to cancel out the last 4 years like they didn't happen, but the president is going to have a relevant voice in the public arena, and it's anyone that thinks that that's not going to happen it's ludicrous to even discuss that. If he was just going to go to his resort and never be heard from again. 75 million Americans voted for the president, and ultimately Joe Biden is the president now. But those 75 million Americans believed in his platform and his message. So I think that there's a lot of folks in the media, and then a lot of I'll say woke, probably former Republicans that have a real problem with President Trump speaking his mind out of office. But he's an American citizen. He's got the First Amendment rights.
Is he gonna have a voice in the GOP gubernatorial nomination?
I mean, I converse with the president, but it's a grassroots process that's going on right now, as you're covering, in real time. I mean, it's the men and women that make up this Republican State Committee that will, choose an endorsement, and then, following that, if it were to go on to the primary, which I doubt, it would be the grassroots Republican voters. So I don't think beyond that he's got a voice as a former president of the United States, but no more so than the vote of the people.
I guess a more direct question. Did you ask him not to endorse these guys and let the party play it out?
I don't disclose my conversations with the president, but no, that is not something I asked him to do.
Thanks, Nick.
Thank you.